Let's talk about the hypocrisy of communion. Well, hello my friends, and welcome back to another video. This is John, drinking my lovely water, keeping my body healthy. Communion. I've often talked in other videos about the recruitment tools of Catholicism. First being, of course, original sin. Child is born and they have original sin, and so they have to be christened into the faith. So they're given that original sin. Now, as I've said before as well, I never knew one parent who held their child for the first time and said, "Ooh, look at that nasty sinner." Never heard that said once. They always say, "Oh my God, I love my child." That child is an expression of love. But when you look at your world, and specifically the Catholic world, the next big moment in your indoctrination is First Communion. First Communion. And I find it funny that the drug, the line that they use for pushers is always first one's free, right? The First Communion is the one that says, okay, now they've been indoctrinated in, and now they're taking communion. What happens next? They have to take it every week from that point on. You have to get communion every week to be indoctrinated into this belief. But the thing that I find really interesting, and where I find real hypocrisy in communion, is the meaning of the word communion. To commune with something is become one with. To become one with God. Become one with Jeshua in this case, or Jesus in this case. They want, by eating his blood and body, you're becoming one with Jesus, right? It's an interesting concept, and I would think of it more as of a reminder that you're one with not only Jeshua, but everybody. But that's not the way the Catholic faith or any Christian faith views it. They view it as you need this every week to remain faithful to an external God, to remain faithful to a God of judgment and fear and anxiety. And that idea that first one's free, now you got to come back every week to get your fix. What's the fix? Well, I come back to get my communion so I don't have to be afraid. So they're basically saying that you have to live in fear and come do these things to not be afraid. So the idea of being a real communion is hypocritical because of the fact that you are never not connected to God. You are part of God. You are one with God. And that's what Jeshua taught. The Father and I are one, right? He didn't say the Father and I am one and I am special and different than all of you. Greater works than I have done you will do is what he said. He never ever wanted to be deified. He never ever wanted to be the middleman between you and God. He wanted to let you know that you are one with God at all times, at every moment. Whatever you ask in God's name is granted. God's name is I am. And you're all day long creating I am statements out of your belief. The line says, whatever you ask in God's name is granted if you have faith. So what you're putting faith in and what you're declaring with your words is what's being created into your experience. But people often say, well, why didn't I heal? You didn't believe it. Shakespeare said, words without thoughts never to heaven go, right? Communion is realizing that you can just believe because God is right there with you all the time. God is at the bottom of every breath you take, and you can feel the connection just by exhaling and relaxing. When you're in that relaxed, very easy state, makes me yawn, you get that relaxed state, that's the connection to Source. That's you without fear, without anxiety. Buddha said the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. You're in that natural state. You're already communed with God. You're already in communion. There's no need for a cardboard tasting wafer. Yeah, nasty tasting. There's no need for that thing. Because that thing is an external thing. And you need nothing external to connect with God, because you already are connected with God. You're already one with God. Your communion is eternal, infinite, and everlasting. It is always there. And it's not a matter of doing external things to commune with God or needing the wafer and the wine to commune with God. It's not a matter of those things. It's a matter of acknowledging you're one with God, expressing your oneness with God, consciously living the oneness with God. And God is just your source. God is an infinite abundance of the universe that shows you your belief. And it does have a larger consciousness you can tap into. God does, right? It allows you to realize anything in your life. Realize. Anything in your life. But I see people take this communion with God and not understand they don't need to take something to be communed with God, because they are one with God right now. Right now. And I see people all the time who use their communion with God to create a life of being a victim. And I see people in communion with God who create lives of being poor. I see people commune with God who create a life of selfless service and become weaker. I see all these negative aspects. But now we seem to be shifting where people are starting to create the positive aspects in their life. They're starting to create in the oneness of God, something that is to their liking, which is, what we're meant to do, really. And so the idea of communion and needing an external wafer to get you there, in my mind, is just a product of a religious belief. It's very cult-like. It's very cult-like. You've got to take this to be part of our club. And really comes down to you realizing you're already one with God. You're already communed. So you don't need to have a communion because you're already communed. You're already one with. And that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day. And I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. The John of New channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. To help out, go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.